Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can text the show 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim on the road in an undisclosed location, trying to get woke up just like me. I was just telling Tim off the air. If I look like I got about 2 hours of sleep because I was up all night with food poisoning, that's exactly what happened. So we'll just try to limp through this entire show here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, obviously an amazing man, with the civil rights movement. And it's cool to take a day and kind of honor him. Don't want to get too deep into it, but obviously we heard the news that they're planning on releasing files around that. Which I think is absolutely awesome. So the American people can truly understand what exactly happened of obviously Martin Luther King Jr. life being lost at such an early age. But that's a topic for another day. But again, that's what we're celebrating. Obviously, it's Inauguration Day as well. So going to be an interesting day across the country. And I know a lot of people were taking off for this day in terms of podcasters and stuff. We're going to roll, Tim. We're here, man. We're here talking ball, No better way to honor those who have come before us or fallen before us and to say, you know what, let's keep this show on the road here, man. Let's give them a shout out and just keep this country moving. How you doing, bud?
Hey, well said, Clay. I'm ready. Let's go. I took the night off last night. I feel a little guilty. So I'm happy to be here this morning. No days off, right? There's always ball. And even in the off season, man, there's a lot to talk about. So
yeah, no, I mean, this is the time of the year to take a day or two off. You know what I mean? I started to do it, man. It was about 3 a.m. and I had StreamYard pulled up on my phone and was just going to edit it to night show or afternoon show. And I'm like, let me hold on. I might feel better in the morning. Sure enough, I woke up and was like, let's do this. Now, last night in the bathroom crawling around like this, you know what I mean? All night long. That was me. So it is what it is.
Mandy, cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
I'll tell you, man, I know what it was too. It was a steak. And you know how you eat something, Tim? You got it seasoned up. You're feeling good, right? You're like, hey, this is good. No one else ate any of it. I sampled it as I was cutting the steak up after it rested. And I was like, it's good, but it's got just kind of little, what is that little something? What kind of season? No, the same seasoning. You know what I mean? Just a little. Yeah. And a couple more bites. I'm like, hey, Mandy, I don't know. Something feels off here. I'm going to throw this away. We might have got a bad steak. Sure enough, 3 hours later, throwing up. Oh. No one else in the house throwing up, right? So it's like, took one for the team. Anyway, we made it, though. So like Holmes says, Notre Dame game tonight, we got to get rested up, got to get hydrated. She made me up a little Pedialyte, something other here, right?
Nice.
Like I'm 7 years old again. We got to get hydrated before kickoff. So
wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
That's all you can do, Tay. That's all you can do. Again, right. So excited, off 3 days. So I get to be live. Hey, it's been a blast having you in here, Jen. Appreciate you making us a part of your morning. Chris in. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, y'all. Good morning to you, sir. So last night, Tim, I know you were hanging out with the wife, and I went ahead and did a mock draft at the end of the show. Now, listen, it was rapid fire. There wasn't hardly any thought put into it other than got the cheat sheet. All right, that player's on the cheat sheet. He's best available. Let's take it, right? Mm-hmm. So understand when we do these mock draft, guys, we don't do it to try to guess what the Packers are doing. We don't do it to try to dunk on people. We don't do it to try to, hey, look how smart I am. We're simply gathering information. And you can do 30 mock drafts and not one of them will be the same, especially if you increase and decrease the randomness of PFF's mock draft simulator. So the purpose is to get as much information as you can and go, man, more times than not, we were not able to fill this specific need in doing the draft, right? So that's the reason that we did the mock draft last night, and I wanted to do it without the guys just to get kind of, here's how I would do it with no input, right, in rapid-fire fashion. Here's what we came up with, Tim, and I don't feel good about it, to be honest with you.
What do you mean?
Pick 23, we got Kenneth Grant. That was awesome. That's something that, here's the thing, looking back on it, I'd probably take the defensive tackle out of Ole Miss if I could. And where's he at? Walter Nolan. I would probably take Walter Nolan over Kenneth Grant. But again, PFF was saying this was best available and just kind of going through in rapid fire fashion there. that's what we ended up going with. Kenneth Grant's actually 19th on the big board. However, Walter Nolan is 34th, but I like Walter Nolan better than Kenneth Grant. So it's just an example, right? So we took with the 23rd pick, Kenneth Grant, defensive line. Obviously, man, I know that's going to be a controversy to most. Some people think we do not need a defensive tackle. I just have to respectfully disagree watching the lack of interior pass rush most of the year. Most people like to put it on the edge rushers, but as we've shown, they were really kind of playing contain. Most of the time you had one that's truly going after the quarterback. I feel like if you add some depth there at defensive line and create a little more competition at defensive tackle, more specifically 3-tech, I think that's really going to help your football team get pressure on the quarterback. So I want to get your take whenever you're ready. If you're not, we can wait a second. I want to get your take on Kenneth Grant pick here at number 23 and what you think about that, man.
Well, you already know who my defensive tackle of choice is, right? It's a dude from Kentucky.
Yep.
But I like Kenneth Grant too. I haven't gotten to watch much tape on him, but I think he smacked it out of the park there. And I agree with you, Clay. I mean, we need help in the trenches, man. Really both sides of the ball, but especially on defense. So I'm all for taking a D tackle in the first round. I don't care what anyone says. I love it. I like the pick. I think Zy Alexander there at corner is a good pick too. I mean, and we got Kobe. You got Kobe on this list, man. Can't go wrong with that. We had that conversation. We got 2 Kobes on this list. I like it.
The other thing that stood out to me that I'd really like to take back is taking back-to-back linebackers with the 123rd pick and the 160th pick. And as I think it was Deadfish pointed out, it was either Deadfish or Ron Samble in the chat last night pointed out, if you knew Jay Higgins was going to be there, would you have taken Kobe King at 123? And the answer was no, I would not have. But again, in rapid fire, sequence, it's kind of hard to know who's there, who isn't. Normally what I like to do is if in the top 3 available, I like to go and sort by those positions and go, okay, do I like somebody better than this player right here? Is it close enough that, hey, that warrants, if I'm going to take that linebacker, I need to take the one I like more, even though it may appear a reach to the public eye on our board, it's the perfect pick. And that's where you're kind of handicapped not having a horizontal board to do the whole thing. So anyway, if I drop this down real quick, just to kind of show you the other defensive lineman, if I can find it here, we go, and see what other defensive lineman would have been kind of popular in that pick there. Kenneth Grant, obviously we took him with the 23rd pick, and he is currently sitting at 21. He peaked at 17. Shamar Stewart is in the 25 spot. He peaked at 20. Derek Harmon out of Oregon, 26. He peaked at 23. Walter Nolan is sitting at 27. He peaked at 24. Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State peaked at 28. He's currently sitting 35th. And there's your boy Deion Walker. So Deion Walker is sitting in the 50 spot. And you notice he's raising up the board here. This has changed, right, multiple times since we've kind of dove into the offseason. I think he's going to continue to rise up the board as people watch the tape and start to realize, oh, that's why they struggled. Kentucky's whole defense struggled last year. So I could see that being the case there with Deion Walker. Don't be surprised if by the time the draft rolls around, he's in the top 32, So speaking of top 32, we've got somebody who's in the bottom 32 joining the show here, and that's our boy Emilio. What's up, Emilio?
What's going on, fellas?
What's up, Emilio?
I just had my doctor's appointment at 7 a.m., right? Have the day off. Blew it.
That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it, bro. You got to. Everything is geared around whether you could play some college football 25 the rest of the day.
All day long.
So.
I actually been cranking on my board, Clay. I'll show it to you after this. But
nice. I love it. Emilio is going to be creating a board separate from mine, in a similar fashion, I would say, right, Emilio?
Yeah,
kind of the same type of mindset.
Definitely. I'm gonna try to just slam a bunch of numbers in there and see how it works. But I took yours as the base, is what I did. Good
deal. And my board currently, I think I'm over 70 prospects that have been added in and have the first 3 qualifiers applied. So it's coming together pretty nicely. As long as we can continue to navigate around the food poisoning here, we're good to go. All right. So again, this mock draft is what we're talking about. We were kind of talking about defensive tackle, Emilio. I took Kenneth Grant last night with a mock draft and 23rd pick. And looking back, I wish I'd taken Walter Nolan. But again, we were just going rapid fire with not much information in order around me. What do you think about that? But let's key in on the first 2 picks. I think Tim pretty much liked it. Kenneth Grant with the 23rd pick and then Zy Alexander with the 55th pick there in the second round.
Yeah.
What do you think about those first 2 picks? We'll take it 2 picks at a time.
Yeah, Kenneth Grant. I like that pick there. He's a solid dude at Michigan, played at a big school, has performed well for a few years in a row. What's it, 48th, 29th, and 18th on the big board. So from those, the PFF of last year, 23, 24, and then the big board. But, yeah, I think that's a good pick there. And then cornerback, we're obviously going to need to take a look at it. If we can snag Zay, I think that's a good spot. I am excited to kind of dig in here, see if we can get some of these kind of deeper prospects here. But I'm not mad at where we're starting with this.
Yeah. And then Charles Grant, that's going to be obviously a firestorm of a response going, whoa, William and Mary, a tackle? Why are we taking a tackle? It's funny. You always go off precedent, right? And it's like, yeah, but we like to convert tackles to guards. And immediately the response is, but he's a true left tackle. That doesn't happen. It did last year. What are you talking about, right? So you could kind of push that out of the way now and go, Goody's not willing to take a true left tackle and try to convert them to a guard that plays on the right side. All bets are off now at this point is kind of the way I'm seeing it. Now, the reason we had to go this route, I want to mention our free agents that are scheduled to leave the Packers. And as you look at that mock draft, right, and I'm going to try to flash back and forth, right? We went D-line, corner, then we went tackle, which, obviously could mean they could play guard. 2 linebackers, which I wish I had that back. I would have taken Jay Higgins over Kobe King, and I wouldn't have even touched Kobe King. And then we would have had another pick there at 123. Kobe Bryant at corner with the 6th round pick, and then with the 7th round pick, we took a wide receiver, LeJonte Wester out of Colorado. Now, if you look at our free agents that are exiting, what could change that? Those 2 linebackers, if we were to keep Eric Wilson, which you guys know I'm in favor of, I hope they let him test the market and they go back and see, all right, he's not going to get hardly any offers. Let's bring him back on a 1 or a 2 year deal. Very cheap, very team friendly. Then obviously that eliminates one of those linebacker spots that we have to fill, because right now the way the needs sit for me is not necessarily in this order, but this is how many players we need at these positions. I think you need 3 cornerbacks, one of which needs to be starting caliber. You need to try to find someone that you're going to start day one. So 1 starting corner, 2 backup corners, and then we've got 1 starting offensive line, 2 backup offensive line. Doesn't mean they're going to start. It means you want them to compete for a starting job there. All right. And then we said 1 starting defensive tackle, predominantly a 3-tech, a starting wide receiver. If you find yourself in the first round and it's like, this dude is going to be a superstar wide receiver, he fell to you in the draft, I'm okay with them taking that. If it's the best player available, right? That's also why I'm team trade back in these scenarios as well. Like, make it where it doesn't line up or where you have to take a wide receiver in the first round. And then, of course, linebacker, 2 backup linebackers. And it's because of this free agent list, right? Set to hit free agencies, Isaiah McDuffie. I'm not worried about that at all. I think we could do better, right? Tyron Hopper's going to step in and fill a void, but you still got to fill those roster spots out if Michael Barrett isn't going to be someone who potentially plays next year at the linebacker position. And then Eric Wilson at a 64.3 there PFF grade. That's my guy. What do you guys think about that linebacker talk there? Are we still on board with bringing Eric Wilson back, or would you rather take 2 swings in the draft and try to find a couple backup linebackers?
I'm okay with Eric Wilson coming back. I like your approach. Let him test the market, see what happens. Yeah, there's a chance he could sign somewhere, but maybe it's not as strong of a market as he would like to think, and we're able to get him back, and it gives us a solid piece to continue to build around with the young talent that we have. I haven't done a deep dive on the linebackers yet, but I know there are a handful in the draft that are worth taking a look at. So I think you're right. I mean, Zay McDuffie's probably gone, right? I think we could all agree on that. And I don't think he's a bad linebacker. I just don't think he's the linebacker that we need, or that we are looking for. And yeah, I'm excited for year 2 of Tyron Hopper. I'd like to see more of him. And the only way you're going to do that is by, moving him up that depth chart and giving him reps. So, the thought of, possibly retaining Eric Wilson as a quote unquote backup or a solid piece, we can't forget that is our green dot when Quay wasn't available. So he's a valuable member of this defense. And if he's not in the fold, who is that guy? going forward. Time will tell, but I think we should keep Wilson if we can get him for the cheap, like you said.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Tim. That was what I was going to kind of say was there, he was our backup. He was the one we leaned on when, Cooper started taking off and McDuffie came off the field. It was Wilson that carried us when Quay went down. I think that's key. I do think, we want to get Hopper in and some more guys going, but I would say Eric would probably be the only one I would want to bring back at the moment right now and still snag maybe one backer in the draft just to see.
Yeah. And if we were to, let's drop this down. First of all, shout out to Brambo gifting one YouTube membership. Appreciate that, Brambo, gifting it to one random lucky member here that's watching the stream. That'll put you into the drawing for giveaways for memorabilia moving forward. Thank you for that, Brambo. Appreciate you, buddy. So if we look at the linebacker position, Tim, you were going, maybe a little later, right? At the top of the list, I'm not impressed with these guys at the top, to be honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong. Demetrius Knight Jr. out of South Carolina, he really turned it on last year, scored an 83.0. The year before, a 77.8. I just don't see us taking a linebacker or someone, with the pick in the first round, not even a second, to be honest with you. Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, 68, then an 81. Carson Schweisinger, 54. Then an 80, only had 17 snaps with that 54 grade there. So you really just got 1 year of experience there out of UCLA.
Another Georgia linebacker named Walker. Look at
exactly.
that. Can you imagine if they drafted him?
We got
Walker and Walker.
There's some people that are really high on Jalen Walker. I'm noticing he's starting to drop a little bit now. I think people are realizing, hey, maybe we fell in love with the athletic ability a little too much. Of course, as soon as he runs in his underwear, he'll probably jump right back up, right?
Yeah, but 20 years old, though, the youth movement factor.
Exactly.
Intriguing, yeah.
72 and a 73 there. Chris Paul Jr., man, he had a hell of a year, 82.7. Last year, a 59, though. So he's out of Ole Miss. Keep an eye on him. But as you go down, the one that really pops, there's two of them, really. Jack Kaiser for me. And I need to find out, if someone could find out for me in the chat, I'm going to have the chat here off the side so I can see. Did Jack Kaiser deal with an injury this year? Is there any injury concern there? Because I was thinking he's healthy down the stretch here. And we'll see him tonight if he is healthy in the national championship. He's right in the middle of that Notre Dame defense. But Jack Kaiser, man, last year was the fourth highest graded linebacker at a 90.3, but only 354 snaps. This year, 611 snaps with an 82.1. We look at it, it looks like he's healthy all year long, and he played at Penn State, so he's good to go. What do y'all think about Jack Kaiser out of Notre Dame? Am I being a homer here? Does that one kind of stick out to you?
No, he sticks out. He's highlighted on the board there for sure, Clay. I do think that his mobility, I like that. He's got his run defense. I wish the coverage was a little bit better, right? Yeah. But he's kind of all over the field. I love that he had 70 tackles this year. That's ideal. You want to see him flying around, and the fact that he's pretty consistent with this grade also absolutely is going to help him.
Yeah. Nathan in the chat says Jack Kaiser wasn't injured. He was just getting rotated out a lot. So there you go. Had some kind of like what Emilio said. They moved him around a lot, as you can see where his alignments were. So Jack Kaiser's one that catches my attention. But the one that I'm really in love with, like I said, we took Kobe King, 83 and 83. So he's steady. Only played 393 snaps last year. Kobe King with the 129th spot. You see what I'm saying, Tim? I feel better about these guys later in the draft than I do those first couple. It just seems like PFF seems to think that, hey, they were much – now, they didn't rank them higher, but they had way better grades. As you see here with Kobe King out of Penn State, which is Penn State U. I mean, had a hell of a year. His run defense grade, 89.2. Just like Jack Kaiser, though, coverage grade down a little bit, 65.4. And the other thing, Jack Kaiser, a much better tackler than Kobe King, as Kobe King's missed tackle rate is almost to the median mark at 11.8%.
Yeah, this is exactly why I try to ignore the PFF ranks when I go through these players. You almost want to scroll, to page 2 or 3, or go to the bottom of the list and work your way up and kind of just ignore those ranks because, we don't understand how they come up with them. And then you start digging into the comparables and you look at some of these, game grades and things like that. And it's kind of hard to understand why certain guys are ranked where they are,
right,
and other guys are higher up. So I definitely like, Kobe King is, you look at some of these measurables, man, it's crazy to think that he's not higher up on the list right now. So that's right. Just it's like you take everything with a grain of salt. We always talk about PFS, not everything. So it's fun to do this. You break down these players and you kind of come up with your own ranks. And it's so true, Clayton. You look at this linebacker group, the top of the list is not where I look right away. I'm looking towards that middle of the list. And I don't think we're going to go super early with linebacker if we take one anyway. We're probably talking 4th round, maybe, right? 3rd, 4th round or later.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And Fred McFarley says Kaiser is almost 25 years old already. Now, here's the thing. When we talk about that, what was our problem this year? Lack of experience, youth, right? Now, I know immediately people shift to, well, that doesn't count as NFL years, right? They've been playing football 1 year or 2 years longer than the other prospects. Now, if you don't think that matters, go look at Bo Nix. One of the knocks on Bo Nix this year was he's so old. He's been playing college football for 10 years, what everybody was joking, right? He comes out and he looks way more ready than like Caleb Williams, right? So that's something you got to take into consideration as well. This is that age-old, argument, right? Conversation. Like Fred's saying, it's true. That's probably why he's dropped on the boards, is being almost 25 years old. But we draft someone and we go, well, it's going to take a couple of years. He's young and inexperienced. And then you draft someone 2 years older and you go, he's a little too old to be drafted. And it's like, what are we talking about here? Which one is it, right?
Yep.
So Jen Wright asked a tough question. Any of these guys captains? That's the stuff I would like to know. Most of these prospects were probably captains on their college team, to be honest with you. That's usually how that works. Like Carrington Valentine was a 7th round pick. He was a captain in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Right? So if you make it to the NFL, chances are you were a captain for your college team. That's typically.
And if anybody finds a list of captains, send it this way because that's going into the board.
Huge information there. Fred McFarley says, yes, Jen Kaiser is.
Oh, so there we go. Put a little star there. Thank you. He was my top one in the board. I mean, and Kobe's my 3rd best so far. Which is crazy. You're looking that far down in the board, right, and you could still maybe find, we're just looking at numbers, but find that sort of talent just based off of a baseline consistency, numbers, production, that sort of thing.
Right. And when you look at the overall grades, it's like these guys feel like they should be at the top as opposed to these guys.
And that's why when I look at Kaiser and King, like if you click on Kaiser real quick, it's the coverage grade. Look at the comparables. Between King and Kaiser, we always talk about, having a linebacker that's able to cover. We were talking about, Zay McDuffie, and, he's going to give you the best, effort and everything, but his pass coverage that's not a strong suit. So I think if we're going to go to linebacker, we need to consider that. We can't always put that on Quay. Oh, Quay can cover. Well, we need multiple linebackers that are able to cover.
Yep, definitely. Moving along here, Cody Simon, 13th highest graded linebacker in college football, 89.6. The year before, 77. The year before, an 80. He's out of Ohio State. Everybody is talking about the edge rusher there, Jack Sawyer, and listen, Sawyer's a dog. But this is a guy that I haven't heard his name mentioned hardly one time, and pretty solid, really. The missed tackle rate, that's kind of rough. The average depth of run tackle is rough as well. Missed tackle rate of 12.5%. But here you've got here's a guy that's coverage grade, right? Which is funny. If you click first look, typically it won't have any information, and it says, "What will prove me wrong this time." Here we go. Here's the guy. See it?
Here's the guy.
Love it. I love the humor they add in there. They know we make fun of Chris Collinsworth, who now pretty much, I think he owns PFF or bought into PFF, but
something like that. Yeah.
Cody Simon, there's your cover linebacker, Tim, but you're sacrificing that missed tackle rate, man. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's the part that sucks. So, again, the one with the best missed tackle rate right now and in a combination of a coverage grade is probably Jack Kaiser. 4% missed tackle rate. That dude's a dog tackling the ball period, right? Yep. Now, his average depth of run tackle, 4.9. That's important, right?
Look at that run defense grade, too.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Definitely. All right. So we're getting close to my favorite prospect. We'll keep scrolling through. Look at Jay Higgins. Not my favorite overall prospect, but linebacker prospect. Jay Higgins from Iowa. Yep. He's going to be 23 years old, 6'2", 232, PFF grade 89.4, and then an 89.1. You're talking about a guy that many people are going to have lower on their board. He's going to be very high on Clayton's board. This is the dude right here. All right. Look at his missed tackle rate, 9.7%, so above the three-quarter mark, right? Average depth of run tackle, 3.7, all right? So not bad there. It's above the median mark. Run defense grade 76. Pass rush grade only 72.8. But look at that coverage grade.
Look at that coverage grade. Holy
92.1. Emilio, what are you putting more emphasis on? I know you want a balanced linebacker. What are you putting more emphasis on? Coverage or run defense? What are you thinking, man, at a linebacker?
At a linebacker spot, I think that right now, just the way the game's going, the fact that we were getting burned on deep digs all season long, it seemed like maybe just because we weren't able to play that 3 high 4 under, but I do think that coverage is going to be, a little bit more our speed that we're going to want to try to chase down. I also liked his coverage grade being high with him playing, over 100 in the slot for the past 2 years. I think that's kind of key. The fact that he can walk outside and go play either tight end, wide receiver, running back, whatever it is, flexed out and not just always stacked backer. I think that's big. But I would lean my hand in coverage.
When you think in terms of deployment, right? Let's look at what Hafley did this year. We were in the nickel most of the year, right? So there's only going to be 2 backers on the field. So with those 2 backers on the field, it's going to be Quay and it's going to be Coop, right? So you got Quay Walker and you got Edgerrin Cooper on the field the majority of the snaps. When you go to your base 4-3 and bring that guy in, why are you going to your base 4-3? Probably because it's a running situation, right? So the role they're going to play, unless Quay or Cooper go down with injury, is probably that third linebacker if they win that spot over Hopper or Eric Wilson if he comes back. You see what I'm saying? It's like, should you try to specifically look for a linebacker that's better in run defense, or still just try to find that guy that's going to step into Quay's role if you do not re-sign him or hit him with a 5th-year option? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really still think I would feel like a flexed out cover backer would be what we want, just because Hopper's a thumper. He's been in the system for a year. Quay's here, Coop's here. If you have somebody that we're not afraid of Coop running downhill, right? He can cover, but we've also seen him 4 or 5 tackles for a loss in one game. So I would much rather put our time into kind of a coverage backer if that was my choice.
Got it. What do you think, Tim?
I agree with that sentiment. And we talk about beefing up our D line too. So, you want to get a run stuffer in the trenches too to help with the run game. And maybe you take some of that pressure off of your backers when it comes to the run. And then Emilio's point is so spot on, because we have to have a guy that's able to flex out to the slot or play a little bit of coverage, and not just okay coverage like a McDuffie, right? We need someone that can literally cover these big receivers and these tight ends. So I think I would put that as a priority over your traditional, like Emilio was saying, your stack backer type of guy, because that's what we have with McDuffie, right? He's your pure kind of stack backer. Great in the run, great with, tackling, great tackler, all those things. I think we need athleticism and coverage skills at a linebacker. And you look at this guy, Higgins, man, he's qualified, and then you look at the run defensive grade, that's just an added bonus. There's a few in this draft that kind of check both of those boxes. And, those are the guys you want to look at. But I would defer to a coverage backer for sure.
Got it. Patrick says in the chat, I love you guys, and thanks again for the gifted membership. I'm a disabled veteran, and this is my go-to for fun. Hey, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
And obviously laying it all on the line for our country. Appreciate that more than you'll ever know. And again, shout out to Brambo for gifting a membership. That's the type of people it goes to, which is absolutely awesome. So again, Patrick, thank you, man. We appreciate the kind words, and thank you so much for your sacrifice, bub. All right, let's move it along. Any other linebackers that kind of grab our attention? You got a couple steady eddies down here at the end, right? Toward the end of the draft. Look at this guy right here, Jalen Walker out of India.
Yep, I was just gonna say that's he's actually top like 10 on my backer list. So he's starting
3 linebackers named Walker.
Yeah, we might as well.
Done.
Hey, Emilio, this screws you up on Madden in the draft. Sometimes you take the wrong one, right?
Oh, it does. Oh, because it's got the same first initial too.
Yes,
that's a Jay Walker, and you're like,
how's he a bust? I know I scouted him.
Yeah, you got to remember the schools. That's the way to separate them.
We're sitting there. How did he last this long? Pull the trigger. Stupid computer forgot to draft him. Drafted the wrong guy.
Pull the trigger, and it says he's the 334th ranked prospect.
You reached. Yeah, you reached.
So then what you do is, as soon as you get to preseason week 1, you go, no, I knew who I was going to take there. You turn trade. You turn the trade thing, whatever, where you force the CPU to take the trade, you go trade for him and get him and make sure. No, I knew who I was
Yeah,
thinking.
or you just put your user linebacker speed all the way up to 100 and just, you know what I mean, just make that dude a rookie of the year.
Somewhere Jacob is sipping his coffee going, yep, do it all the time. Do it all the time. Right.
Jen Wright says Walker, and Walker. Sounds like a law firm.
It does, doesn't it? Walker, Cooper, and Walker, right? Or Cooper.
He is
Walker.
highlighted for me though, Clay. He definitely is. So I want to do a little digging.
Let's check it out.
Just because of the dude's consistency, right? So I mean, going all the way back, he's carried those numbers across. The only thing really bringing him down on the board would be his ranking right now on the big board. Dude can cover it. He's at 15. That's kind of where the average is for most of the linebackers, 15 to 19 on those coverage snaps. But again, I think I'm still leaning towards that. You know, with a 3-yard tackle depth, not terrible. Might need to tighten up those missed tackles. But for a late round gem, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, that's a dude that, like you said, man, with the 200 pick, if he does fall that far, and he played at Indiana. I know people probably roll their eyes a little bit at Indiana. And they played damn good ball this year, man. And they played some tough opponents, right? This is Indiana, the same Indiana I'm thinking about, right? The Hoosiers this year. Yeah, I mean, look at the opponents they played, right? Let's see. You have Notre Dame, I know was the big game there at the end. He had a 67.5 against Notre Dame in the playoffs. Before that, Purdue, 94.1, had a 66.6 at Ohio State, had a 70.7 Michigan at home, right? Nebraska had a decent program, if I remember correctly, this year, 71.9 at home against them. So they played decent competition, right? And, in terms of where he lined up on the D line, and so he actually mugged the line of scrimmage 108 times. He played in the quote-unquote slot 118 times. Typically, that's when they flex a linebacker into the slot. He'll go out there and walk out with him. Yep. And then, of course, in the box, just a normal stack backer position, 454 snaps there. So that's an interesting prospect, man. It really is. So, again, pass rush grade, 87.6, run defense grade, 84.6, coverage grade, 71.1. So it's obvious his overall grade is getting blimped a little bit because of the pass rush grade, right? But, I mean, how many times have we fired Cooper this year, right? How many times have there was multiple times we fired Eric Wilson on a blitz too. I think he had a sack or two this year.
Yep,
so
definitely.
That might be a player for Coach Half toward the end of the year. Let's see if there's anybody else at the linebacker position. Here we go. Teddy Buchanan. How can you not draft somebody named Teddy Bear Buchanan? You know what I mean? He played for the Cal Bears, and his name's Teddy. Let's go. Doesn't get any better than that.
Teddy 82. With the Y-E. I like that.
82, 77. He's 6'2", 235, senior out of Cal. And let's look at some of the measurables here. Missed tackle rate only 9.2%. That's above the 3/4 mark. Average depth of run tackle is sitting at 4.1. I'm trying to read this average depth of tackle here, Emilio.
Yeah.
That the higher the worse. Is that right?
That's how I see it. But when it's negative, you know, when it's like 2.3 yards, the color's orange, which would seem like it's bad.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure. We do kind of need to dig into that. He is also a gem on mine, though. Teddy is. Because
that average depth of run tackle too might be in the opposite direction from where they line up. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? So the lower the better. I don't know, or maybe the higher the better. We got to be careful with that. That's the whole point. I wanted to bring that up and ask you guys that because it's weird that it's going red. What should be a better grade. So,
but I do love 20 coverage stops, tied for 10th. That's big. Dude's 200th on the board. You know what I mean? But can cover that well. That's huge.
Yeah, completion percentage too, Tim. You're talking about a coverage backer, 56.3 completion percentage. It's tied for 20th best in all of college football.
Love it.
Coverage
grade, man. Love it.
Yeah. I'd probably like to go back and watch that Miami game, or at least some highlights of it, see why he was bad there, and then go from, then maybe check out NC State, go from there. But if we can snag somebody late like this in the draft that can still cover, you got a little bit of speed on them, I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, I agree, man. And again, the reason we're going through these, people are going, why are y'all spending so much time on linebacker? It's looking like we're going to have two voided spots on the roster, right, to fill. And when we did our mock draft, I ended up taking 2 linebackers in the 4th and the 5th. What I'm finding out is don't even think about taking one in the 4th. Wait till the 5th or the 6th because there's so much depth on the backside.
There is.
That's why you do these type of projects here. So that's Teddy Buchanan. Is there anyone else in here? David Jabinda? Is that how you'd say it?
Yeah.
That's a joke waiting to happen. Look at Tim giggling over there. His 13-year-old self just came out. Jabinda.
Who?
Maybe the G's even silent. Who knows?
Yeah. So in some languages too, the G is an N, so it could be Nabinda, something like that.
There you go.
Never know. All right. 79.4, 68.8, 81.7. Don't like the lack of snaps. Obviously, that's probably why he's falling down. He's also thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. 6 foot, 235, right? Let's go to the card here and look. Coverage grade, 75.5. Played for a big program in Texas. Run defense grade, 84.4. Pass rush grade, 55.3. So this is your traditional stack backer, right? Average depth of tackle run. If that's 3 yards, that should be good, right? That's that's probably one of the better ones we've seen so far, right? In terms of games he was available in, it looked like he was healthy all year long, even though the snaps were only 314. But again, 79, 68, 81. Coverage stops, only 7, so that looks kind of bad. Of course, he didn't have a whole lot of attempts there, right? The completion percentage against, pretty rough. But when you look at the coverage grade, you would say, hey, his coverage grade's high, but the completion percentage against 87.5. Just because they completed the pass doesn't mean it wasn't good coverage, right? It could be just one of those bad luck type situations. That's where you'd have to go watch the tape. His passer rating allowed, only 45.8, which is 10th best in all of college football. So some of the bigger games he played in, look at these scores, man. Ohio State, we'll go from the last game to the first. Ohio State, 71.9. Georgia at home, 88.2. On the road at Texas A&M, huge rivalry, a 90 PFF grade for that game. Let's see, on the road in Vandy, 82.1. Georgia at home earlier in the year, 74.3. This dude gets up for the big games, does he not?
Yeah.
So
sure looks like it.
That's a guy there. Again, David Benda. We're just going to call it Benda.
There you go.
A guy that keep an eye on him later in the draft. Yeah, I'm convinced now you should not pull the trigger on a linebacker until after the 4th round, probably even the 5th round. This draft looks like it's very deep with linebacker. So that's what we wanted to do this for. I'm glad we did it.
Adding more fuel to the fire, Clayton, of trading out of that 1st round, right? Might trade down, load up on the back end.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that too. Let me drop this down real quick, and let's go back to
another guy to the list.
Let's go to the. Did you add him?
Yeah, we got to add another guy to the list now.
All right, there you go. Let's go to the consensus big board real quick here. All right, and let's look at that. Let's say when we pick at 23, let's say that the draft falls exactly how this suggests here. Okay, so let's say it goes, and it'll never go in this exact order, but let's just say, the top however many picks, right? Let's say it's Cam Ward going number 1 to Tennessee. He's a quarterback. Shadur Sanders out of Colorado with the number 2 pick. Let's say Travis Hunter with the number 3, on and on and on, right? So if we go down and we get to pick 23, and here are the players available. You got Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. Yeah, I'm not as big on him personally. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I want to say his PFF was pretty inconsistent. So I'm not as big on him. It doesn't mean he won't go even before the Packers pick. But you got Siobhan Ravel Jr., cornerback out of ECU, obviously a smaller school. You got to be careful with that stuff. They actually have the Packers taking him with the 23rd pick, Siobhan Ravel Jr. All right.
He came off that knee injury too. He had the ACL this past year.
Yeah. Then you got Shamar Stewart, defensive lineman. They got him mocked going 28 to Detroit. Derek Harmon, defensive lineman out of Oregon. They got him mocked at number 16, even though he's sitting in the 26th spot. If Walter Nolan is sitting there, guys, when we pick 23, that's one of the few guys, Tim, that I would go get him.
Yep.
Go get him. That's the tough part for me. Now, we got to keep in mind, too, with Devonte Wyatt, right? Is there anything else you want to see here with the consistent big board, or with the consensus big board here, fellas? Anything at all?
No, I think that's a good place for us to kind of start. Keep an eye on it as it closes in, but right around the 20 to 30 range, we need to poke around. But again, remember we did that last year, poked around at 20 to 30, and we took a guy who was 45th or 51st, Morgan on there. So got to keep our eyes open. Let's
see exactly where he finished, because I was thinking he was a little bit higher. And on my board, I know he was in the wheelhouse, right? It was like it wasn't something where I seen him pick him and we're like, what are we thinking here? It kind of made sense. It wouldn't have been my choice. But let's see exactly where Jordan Morgan ended up. We're looking for that Arizona logo here. Arizona, 35th.
Okay.
So he was sitting at 35th. He peaked at 31. He was mocked to go number 30 to Baltimore, and we ended up taking him with which pick? Remember what it was?
We were the
20. We were in the 20s, right? I'm trying to think.
24.
Yeah.
25. 25.
Yeah, 25th.
Yeah. Because they had us
Okay.
taking American Mims, but
So maybe 10 up, fluctuating, 10 past your spot sort of
Yep.
idea. Just to give us a ball. I'm just trying to say a ballpark. Let's just try to narrow our margin sort of thing.
right. Yeah, so that's kind of how that shook out there last year. Now let's stop that. And the reason I wanted to jump into this, we're going to go into the film room real quick and just watch a few snaps, and we'll wrap this big bear up with the morning show. This was Devonte Wyatt's tape. Listen, we pointed out Devonte Wyatt had injury problems, right? We pointed out inconsistencies. But as Goody said in his presser, he said Devonte Wyatt was their most consistent pass rusher on the defensive line, right? Meaning interior defensive line.
Thick.
On the tape, here are his sacks. He had 5 sacks. So let's watch this from the end zone cam and just see where he's lined up. Okay, right here you see he's pretty much in a 4-tech, right? So he's right over the tackle. And you'll notice here, I don't know if this is Kenny or not, but this is what Kenny played all year long. That's what we're referring to in the 1-tech. So when we say 1 and 3, we're talking about this guy being the 3, the one who's going to play a 3 to 4 tech, and the other playing nose, shade, 1, that type of position. But watch, again, Devonte Wyatt right here. So you see the TE, right? Sack. He showed flashes. Like he's that pass rusher. He's a great pass rusher when they turn him loose.
Right.
The problem is the run defense. But again, I just want to show this is why Goody is probably a little bit hesitant Jason Wilde said he thinks they'll pick up the 5th-year option on Devonte Wyatt. And you guys know where I'm at. I think they'll pick up one of the two at least with him and Quay, possibly both. But watch him right here. This is that 3-tech we're talking about. See the 1-tech here, right in between the guard and the center. And then here's Devonte Wyatt in the 3-tech right in between the guard and the tackle. Let's watch him work. So we've seen an ET stunt or a TE stunt. Now it's just a straight rush, collapse in the pocket, sack. All right. And again, this is his highlight reel, so it's going to look you're not going to see the low lights on this. We're just pointing out here's what he does well. It's definitely getting after the quarterback. So now you've got a little bit tighter front. You've got a guy playing a 2-eye instead of a true 1. And on the other side, you got him playing what I would consider a 3-tech. Wouldn't you consider that a 3-tech, Emilio? Outside shoulder of the guard?
Yep, I would say.
All right, so we got another 3-tech here for Devonte Wyatt. Let's see if he works in or out.
Through a double team.
Yeah, that's a coverage sack, right?
Yep.
Coverage sack, and he fought through the double team. Now, you notice how he was kind of spying there? That's that touch spy. And this is the difference between him and Kenny this year. You see Kenny kind of playing a little bit of spy through. He's being very, very, Gary's going in. He's getting held like a son of a gun, obviously, getting bear hugged. But Gary works in, and you got Kenny. This is kind of a slow developing pass rush to keep Will Levis in the pocket. Kenny's working outside. Devonte Wyatt's making sure he doesn't rush up the middle. So you see him holding this point. Then when he shoots his shot, he goes. So it's almost like a double spy there, right? Where you're kind of contained with Kenny while Gary crashes inside. And then, of course, you had Devonte Wyatt working through a double team on a little touch in the middle. All right, here we are with him playing a 4-eye. You see him out wide right here. Notice no one's in the 1.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably call this a 3, but I think it's more of a 4. But I'm pretty sure this is Wyatt right here. He's going to be playing a 4-eye on this pass rush. Yep. Oh, look at the spin move. You seeing this? Somebody come look at this.
And he knew that was. We talked about that beginning of the year watching the Jets. Remember, we talked about the wide spread and nickel look, nickel wide or whatever. And both him and Brooks knew, okay, I can work the man to the inside. You can set him up kind of, I'm coming uphill, and then just worked him right underneath, gone.
Yep.
Too fast.
Yep. And again, when it's just a true pass rush, he can do that. The problem is it's few and far between where it's just, all right, guys, go get him. Because look at Carl on this play. Carl's doing touch spy. See him?
Yep.
He's protecting that middle. Watch 94. Well, engage. All right, let everybody work. Now, if he tries to scramble.
Carl took his guard and then the center, who would have been Wyatt's help.
Bingo.
And occupied him.
And the reason he didn't have help right off the snap is because Wyatt's playing so far out on that 4-eye. Right? And when he arrives at the quarterback, what I really like about Wyatt, he's angry. He's violent when he gets there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's something you want in your defensive lineman. So there's another sack. All right, let's move it along. I think this one, is this on Anthony Richardson maybe? No, this is it's against the Saints here. All right. So where is Wyatt? To me, it looks like this is him right here. So he's in a 4-eye on this play. All right. Again, that's what we're talking about when we talk 3-tech. Actually, yeah, that was 4-eye, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So you see him, he's kind of working off of a TT. Carl goes first. He works laterally, he being Wyatt, off of the TT with the double team. Boom. So he's working the spy, but he's still being aggressive going after the quarterback most of the time when you're talking about these touch stunts in the middle. That's something, I don't mean to dog on him, but Kenny has just not been good at that, man. He hasn't. He just kind of gets hung up, you know? So I wanted to show that because we're talking about drafting a 3-tech in the first round. I'm talking about it. I'm leading that charge. I don't want to put that on anybody else. I think we need a dominant 3-tech. Wyatt can be that in the passing game. It's just the running game is where he's very – Kenny is not going to be here next year. If he is, that contract's going to have to be restructured big time, right? So who's that other guy to step in? It may be Carl. If Carl goes down with an injury, guess what? Now you're down to your 4th string defensive tackle. So – that's why I'm thinking we need a true 3-tech. If the board falls just right, and that's why we want to show if Walter Nolan's there or one of these top guys fall, like a Kenneth Grant, a Tyleek Williams, a TJ Sanders, and a Walter Nolan, any of those 4, if they're sitting there at 23, I'm totally good with Goody taking them. So with that being said, I would much rather trade out of the first round. That's just me personally. So let's go around the horn one last time here, and we'll end this thing before I throw up on my keyboard with this food. It's come back a couple times while we're sitting here, and I'm just trying to muscle through.
Reel it in. Nothing, man. That's I like the little deep dive on them. We got a lot more way to go, but no, I mean us trying to chase down some defensive guys has been the true test of time for years now, right? We're always kind of taking the dive in there and just rely on our production on the offense, which we've had really good luck with in the O-line, luck with the receivers. We got a good quarterback. Let's see what our running back happens, this year after coming back from the injury, the most recent pick, and then we kind of go from there. But our offense has been cooking. I think we really do just need to focus on defense like we have been and just keep kind of replacing. We got a tight end now. Besides the O-line interior, we're probably going to be diving into defense a lot this offseason.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Tim, you got anything else? I was going to hit this comment here, but
no, let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Zane says, stop drafting defensive players with 3 exclamation points. All right.
Yeah.
Packers haven't produced on dogs in a while. Get a proven veteran, please. All right. So, Adrian Cooper?
Yeah. Feel pretty good about Edge Cooper.
Evan Williams?
I feel pretty good about Evan Williams. I feel pretty good about Javon Bullard. I feel pretty good about Carrington Valentine.
Right. How about our boy Jair Alexander when we first drafted him? Dog out of the gate, right? We forget recency bias, right? We forget just how.
When you say get a proven veteran, please, I would just ask, please provide the names of who you're describing.
Yeah,
because it's real easy to just say get a proven veteran,
right?
But you're not naming who you're talking about.
And here are the free agents, right? T. Higgins, wide receiver. Trey Smith, guard. Javon Holland, are we going to go out and spend $20 million a year on another safety? Probably not, right? Chris Godwin, wide receiver. Khalil Mack, edge defender. People go, yeah, let's go get Khalil. Had a great year, last 2 years, right? 34 years old. When's the drop-off coming? Are you going to overpay?
He's going to want a truckload of money. Yeah.
Right. And he's not a 3-tech. He'd be another edge defender, so the problem still exists in the middle where Kenny's at, right? DJ Reed, cornerback. You want to go get him? We're on board with those type of picks if it's for the right price. But are you going to pay DJ Reed $16 million per?
Yeah.
Amari Cooper, wide receiver. Ronnie Stanley, tackle. Sam Darnold, quarterback. Josh Sweat, edge defender. 73.2 and 67.2 PFF grades the last 2 years. He's going to be 28 years old. Another edge defender, right? Stephon Diggs, wide receiver. Deshaun Reddick, edge defender, who, by the way, completely screwed the Jets over this year, not showing up half the year. You want to bring that into the locker room?
Yeah.
How about that?
Nah, I'm good.
Charvarius Ward, cornerback. That's a guy, in my opinion, if you can get him for the right price, based off what he had to deal with last year, with the passing of his child, and obviously the 49ers had a really, really rough year. If he returns that 84.7, 81.0, we're on board with that. Our short list of free agents. We're not anti-free agent on defense, but here's the short list. Linebacker Bobby Wagner. Cornerback Carlton Davis. Cornerback Byron Murphy. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw. Cornerback DJ Reed. That's the short list. If you could get Khalil Mack for a decent price, I'm on board with it. Edge is that important. But if you're telling me that you got to go get someone like Khalil Mack for $22 million per, that's not a good allocation of your cap, in my opinion. You can get him for the 15 mark for a year. I just don't think he's going to settle for 1 year, hardly any guaranteed money. Let me just go take one for the team type approach, right? So, yeah. There you go. That's it. Again, Zane, thank you for the comment. When you say stop drafting defensive players, though, I could not disagree more because we would not have Cooper. We would not have Evan Williams. Cooper, in my opinion, is the reason the defense really stabilized late in the year. Like, that's a dude that it's obvious the coach has seen it too because he stayed on the field there toward the end. So,
yep.
All right. Anything else, Tim? You got the final word here, sir.
No, I think that's spot on. I think Edgerrin Cooper, we're going to look back. He's going to prove to be one of our best draft picks in, maybe the last decade or so when it's all said and done. And, I agree. I don't like the idea of just bring in a veteran, pay him a truckload of money. Hopefully we get a great year. And then, we're stuck in cap hell, or, we chose not to draft someone because we brought a veteran in. I like going to the draft. I'm not opposed to bringing in veteran players. I've said that multiple times. I do think this team being super young is not always a good thing. Yeah, you need some experience peppered in there. But I'm not willing to just, jump off that cliff and just say, hey, we're not drafting a defensive tackle or something. I think there's enough talent. This draft probably not as strong as last year's, but I do think there's some gems in there. And again, ignoring that ranking list and just kind of diving into some of these names on your own and seeing who's going to be, a good fit from a Packer perspective. That's the approach I want to take. And then you look at free agency, keep an eye on how negotiations are going with a lot of these free agents. And then, maybe you can sneak in there and, make an offer and get a veteran to come over to Green Bay. That'd be great, but I don't think that should be the priority. I think looking at the draft should be the priority.
Yeah, I agree. And again, this Khalil Mack, Emilio, you got the final word here. Yes or no to Khalil Mack for $22 million?
Not for $22 million.
Right. That's where I'm at. He's been good the last 2 years.
Emilio said
91, 91.8 and a 90.2, but $22 million, man, especially knowing that you got to pay Zach Tom, knowing you got to pay one of those two receivers, whether it's Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs. Now, if you go get Chris Godwin, let me just be honest here. You guys have heard me talk about Chris Godwin. If you go sign Chris Godwin, I hate to say it, the writing's probably on the wall for Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson.
Yeah.
Sucks for Christian Watson. I was thinking about that earlier today. I'm like, Christian Watson, week 12. God, it sucks.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah, man.
So bad. Against the Bears. Like, why even put him out there? I get angry every time I think about it. It's like, why? Man, sucks.
It does. It does.
We're going to end the show all somber here. All right. Moment of silence.
Hey, but you know what? He's a young dude, man. You never know. Maybe he rehabs, comes back.
I love Tim.
I'm trying to be positive. You can basically write off the 2025 season, obviously. But I think you're right, though, Clay. We'll see what Goody does. We're going to get our answer real quick about Rome and Scoot, based on how, this draft shapes up and free agency.
Yeah, definitely.
Drew D's going to end on a positive note. He said, you watch Watson kill it the second half of next year and get a big contract. I hope it happens, Drew. I hope it happens. I was watching his tape earlier today. His throw, air yards of 20 yards or more to Watson. He was a damn dog on those deep shots, man. He averaged over 20 yards a catch, right? It was something crazy like that.
He was pushing 30 near the end of the year there. I think he was like at 29 and change.
Mm-hmm.
Out of hand.
Yeah, and I honestly had it pulled up so we could share it and watch the tape. Like, look at Watson. And I kept going, but we won't see him till week 12. I ain't doing this to myself. I ain't going to do it. I'm not going to do it. It's like going downstairs and staring at the presents 3 days before Christmas, right? Pretend like they're not there. We can't open them yet. So, anyway, that's it, guys. We're out of here. Everybody have a wonderful day. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Shout out to Brambo gifting a YouTube membership to a lucky fan here. And, you guys and gals are awesome. No show tonight unless something changes, because I really want to sit down and watch this national championship. Yeah. Ohio State will probably smack the piss out of Notre Dame, and I'll be depressed the whole time. But we're going to watch it. We're going to sit through it because, boy, you talk about a team catching momentum at the right time, man. Ohio State has got it right now as they enter the playoffs and obviously going into the national championship. So everybody have a great day. Stay warm out there. I know there's a cold front across the country. Everybody stay bundled up, right? Wash your hands, wash your butt so you don't end up like me. Go Pack, go.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.